a podcast to honor the gods.
This better come with a sacrifice.
Dave X Media.
Dumbledore put his fingertips together again and said no more. Fudge glared at him, evidently incensed. Harry glanced sideways at Dumbledore, seeking reassurance. He was not at all sure that Dumbledore was right in telling the Wizengamot, in effect, that it was about time they made a decision. Again, however, Dumbledore seemed oblivious to Harry's attempt to catch his eye. He continued to look up at the benches where the entire Wizengamot had fallen into urgent, whispered conversations. Welcome to the restricted section, a pro-trans rights Harry Potter slander Harry Potter book club podcast run by a bunch of dicks that like to say, actually. If you haven't done the reading, don't worry. Actually, we did it for you. Here's what we're talking about this week. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Chapter 8, The Hearing. This chapter consists entirely of Harry's hearing, as you may have guessed from the title, for the charges of use of underage magic for defending himself and his cousin with a Patronus charm. Dumbledore shows up, thank fucking God, although he seems very cold to Harry for some reason. We meet Umbridge. She is a government lackey. And we also see Percy. He is a government lackey, but assholes just love to be assholes, don't they? So we'll worry about them later. Cornelius Fudge is terrible. But in the end, Harry gets cleared of all charges. Welcome to the restricted section where we used to think miscarriages of justice were very unusual and wild, but now that we're grown up, we know better. My co-host today is Eyewitness, Leela. Say hello to the listeners, Leela.
Hello, listeners. I'm Leela.
And I'm extremely excited because our special guest today is Nav, co-host of A Song of Ice and Fire Symposium. Say hello to the listeners, Nav.
Hello, everyone.
If they sound familiar to you, dear listener, that's because you have heard Nav's dulcet tones before on Prisoner of Azkaban Chapter 8, Flight of the Fat Lady, back in January 2021. Also, Goblet of Fire Chapter 8, the Quidditch World Cup in October of 2021.
What?
Now you're back again for Order of the Phoenix, Chapter 8, The Hearing.
I love it. It's so great. And it's been exactly a year, pretty much.
I know, that's so funny. And you reminded me before we started recording that we did do this on purpose. The second Chapter 8 was a coincidence, but we decided to go for a third Chapter 8.
You know, you can have me for all the Chapter 8s. I'm totally happy to do that.
Okay, I'm putting you on the schedule for the next two chapters.
Nav, are you 24?
I'm 21.
That would have been.
It would have been
really
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then like by the next time I would have had to be, at 8 more. And I couldn't pull that off, so.
No.
Well, how have you been over the last year, Nav?
I've been good. I've been having fun with the podcast, with my podcast. We're starting book 3, which is, if anybody knows anything about Game of Thrones or A Song of Ice and Fire, everybody knows that's where the shit goes down. So I'm just so
that's
excited.
Where a lot of people are like, I actually don't need to read this anymore.
Yeah,
I've been betrayed for the last time.
Yep. People have definitely given up reading out of depression. But like, if you stick through it, it gets really good because
it's so juicy. I'm so excited for Harmit to read that.
Yeah.
Too.
So this year kind of like snuck up on us. We were like just reading the second book and all of a sudden we're done. Whoa. The first one took us so long to get through. We were like, we're never going to finish this.
Well, didn't you like start out doing one chapter at a time and then start combining chapters? That's the secret.
See, I got really impatient. I was like, I can't deal with this. I need her to know everything right now so I can obsess about it.
Yeah, at the pace you started at, it's like years and years of content.
I think I'd calculated, and if it was that if we did a chapter a week, it would take like 7 years or something. And we're not doing a chapter a week anymore. We're doing like 2 or 3 chapters every other week just because we're so busy with everything else. But we're hopefully going to be done in less than 7 years. I don't know.
Well, and our friend Taylor was recently on the show to talk about what was she talking about?
The Sorn Sword. It's the second of the Dunk and Egg novellas.
That's like a very hard one to
Isn't
say.
it? Oh, it was so hard.
Sword. So I came on for the first Dunk,
which was
and
the Hedge
Egg.
Night, and we had a great time.
Hedge Night. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. They're so long, and there's like so much to say about them.
Tina, I remember when you were on for that chapter, or you were about to go on for that chapter, was I believe last year when we were at Ren Fair, and it was like all getting you into a very Rennie Fair.
Yeah. I remember talking about that.
That's a funny memory. Oh, nice. I don't remember that at all. Well, I couldn't remember anything without my friends. Hell yeah. Well, Nav, we're extremely excited to have you back to talk today about Chapter 8, The Hearing, which is admittedly the first interesting chapter so far in this book, in my opinion.
What? No. This book is a gem, and every single chapter is amazing.
Okay, defend yourself.
Okay, so I think my biggest defense, this book is among my favorites, but it was my definite favorite when I first read the series. And I think the fact that I was 15 and Harry was 15 had to do something with it. Just because he was, I don't know, all the emo things he was feeling, like feeling left out seen. And like mad at your parents or like guardians or whatever. I was feeling all of those things. Yeah. So when Harry like blows off at Ron and Hermione earlier, I felt that.
When he goes all capitals.
Yes, exactly. But also like I was, becoming a bit more politically aware at that time. So this book felt really relevant.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This book, this chapter in particular, I think encapsulates what is so frustrating about this book. Is like,
it's a very frustrating book.
The grown-ups in charge do not have your back.
Yeah. And I feel like as a kid, reading it for the first time, it's written in a way that you can grasp it and really, really think like, I feel like I'm in on politics. Like I'm like smarter than most grown-ups and the system is not on my side. Like, I feel like that was all encapsulated pretty well in this chapter in a way that Joanne is maybe not in previous chapters and books been able to like kind of make so clear.
Mm-hmm. How would you rate this book?
Like in terms of like the other, like against the other books. Oh, it was my least favorite. It was my least favorite. Yeah, it was my least favorite. And I remember that because I reread all of the books, but I think that I didn't reread this one because this one so far is like feeling the least familiar to me.
And I think it not feeling familiar is also like an intentional writing thing, I think, because like we're into this rhythm of like, okay, so Harry's at the Dursleys and he's doing these things and then this is how summer goes. But all of a sudden, this summer is just so vastly different. It's like conveying that changed world kind of sense.
It's true.
Yeah, I will say, so this was my least favorite book growing up reading it. I think because I was not very angsty. I've always been pretty like sunshiny. So I think I didn't fully grasp or understand, I didn't have that type of trauma, but rereading it as an adult so far, I will say like in comparison to rereading the others as an adult, I'm liking it a lot more. And honestly, like maybe more so than the other 4 that I've reread so far.
Yeah, so it stands the test of time.
Yeah, in a way. I think that there's still way too much fluff, way too much British fluff just like stuffed in here.
Fluff in the stuff.
Yeah. But when Joanne has planned and written everything out and like organized her thoughts, I think that she can really like drive a point home. I don't remember much about this book, but I do remember this chapter. I think I remember this chapter and I remember, well, we'll get into it, but I remember this chapter really well.
Yeah, so as the title suggests, this chapter is Harry's hearing. You might remember that for like 6 consecutive chapters, we've been anxious about his hearing.
Yep.
Is he going to be expelled from Hogwarts? And then when in the last chapter, Harry and Arthur got to the Ministry of Magic early, they were supposed to have plenty of time to make it to their hearing, which was supposed to be in her office. What's her name? Madam Bones, right? The original hearing was supposed to be in her office.
So is Susie Bones' mom?
Susie Bones' mom.
Yeah.
And doesn't she, no, aunt, not mom.
Aunt, yeah. Aunt.
Yeah, and doesn't
aunt.
she
All
like
right,
end up dying soon
Yeah, I think she
after,
does.
which is, oh, it was so sad because she was like really the only person that was on Harry's side here.
We're getting to the part of the books where it's like, doesn't that character die
Yeah,
soon?
it's really sad.
Like, what up, Sirius? How's it going?
Oh, no.
But when they arrived at the Ministry of Magic, they quickly got the memo that the hearing was actually being held 5 minutes ago in the giant, scary old courtrooms for, like, felons.
Yeah.
I mean, is that not like every reoccurring nightmare, like about high school or college? I like definitely have recurring nightmares where it's like, I wake up and then it's like, hey, the exam started 5 minutes ago.
Oh my God.
You know, horrifying. I hate being unprepared for things. I feel like, and it's so bullshit because that's like if you woke up and your professor was like, oh, just kidding. The exam like that was scheduled for an hour from now started 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's the thing is it's like they were obviously just trying to fuck him. But it's like, come on, how can you be so obvious about this? Like, what are...
fuck with him, yes. They weren't trying to fuck him, Tina.
So Harry, when he goes into the courtroom, he realizes he's been in this courtroom before in Dumbledore's Pensieve. This is where he watched the Lestranges and Barty Crouch Jr. and fourth person get sentenced for torturing the Longbottoms into insanity. So that's like the bar that he's walking into this room with. He's like, oh, this is for this kind of criminal.
Yeah, and he like looks at the chair and it's got the chains that are supposed to restrain people and
terrifying.
He's 15. Calm down, y'all.
And his guardian isn't allowed into the room with him.
Yeah, like they just push him in. Oh, this is such bullshit.
Do you think it's like a classic like wizard muggle, a misunderstanding like that? Like obviously like wizard, like he should know like only he is allowed into the room. Because otherwise, like, I mean, I feel like Mr. Weasley could have given him a little warning, like, hey, I won't be in there with you. Or like,
I just don't see why on earth
he can't be.
They should not be allowed to try him without any adult
he's
present.
a minor.
Yes, he's a minor. Oh.
They don't know that Dumbledore's gonna like make it. So there was like a split second in this chapter where Harry was gonna have to do this on his own.
They were kind of banking on it, right? Like,
yeah.
That is no basis for a solid legal system. At least when he sits down, the chains don't chain him. They just clink menacingly. They're like, we would if we could. The judges of this trial are the Wizengamot, including Cornelius Fudge.
The freaking Minister of Magic is overseeing this trial of a child's like minor, basically misdemeanor. And when Dumbledore like points it out later, he's like, come on, don't you see the bullshit here? But just the fact that they thought they could get away with it and they totally would have too is, it's so frustrating.
Yeah, Cornelius Fudge is here and they've called the whole Wizengamot, which it was supposed to be like a hearing, not a trial, but they made it a trial when they brought like the court system into it. And if I were any random dude on the Wizengamot and I got the email that was like, okay, you have to come at 9 o'clock this morning to do this disciplinary hearing because Harry Potter did a Patronus spell, which can cause pretty much no damage as far as I know, a Patronus charm. I'd be like, man, I'm not going to this. This is not this is not my job.
Yeah.
You know, below your pay grade if you're on the Wizengamot.
I guess, but like also anything that involves Harry Potter is hot goss, you know?
Right about that.
Right.
So.
It's true. And they've been like they've been running that smear campaign against him all summer. So people are maybe curious to see like what's going on. Maybe they're like building up this, negative persona of him in their head. So they're like, let me go see it for myself.
God, well, I really hope that a lot of them look down there and were like, oh, he's a terrified child who is completely alone. Like, we should leave him alone, maybe?
I think some of them do have that like reaction, but I think a lot of them don't. Like, I think the smear campaign was really successful. And so they're like buying into all of the stupid lies and slander against a 15-year-old.
I hate that.
Yeah. Yes. There's a few favorite points in this. Like I said, I really enjoy this book. But at the end, when it's all revealed and Fudge is just left like sputtering, like, that moment is so satisfying when Dumbledore's like, I'll be in my office. You can find me there. Running like way far. But like all of this frustration, I think, has a good payoff in the end.
Yeah.
So I like right now, I read this one chapter. I haven't reread the other ones so far this year. So I think I might just continue reading the book just so I can have that satisfaction.
Nice. And skipping those first 7 chapters changes nothing.
It's fine.
Right.
Absolutely.
Maybe
There's
like
nothing new there. Yeah.
I do miss the first few chapters. We do get the Weasley twins. They've got some good lines in there. So I might just go back and read their banter because it's always amazing.
I would love if you went through the series only reading the Fred and George
Oh my
chapters.
God. Yes, somebody needs to do that. Harry Potter through the eyes of Fred and George.
I love that.
Yeah, but then, it gets
it gets really sad.
Sharply sad.
No.
You need an artful fanfic.
That did not happen. I don't know what you're talking about.
See, I told you we're at the point in the books where it's like, aren't they going to die soon?
Percy is here. And he's not even acknowledging that he knows Harry. And it's,
he's a company man now.
Yeah, like all time hated characters for me, like obviously Umbridge is there, but Percy's like right below that.
The betrayal makes him so, like, Umbridge was never good. She didn't betray anyone.
Yeah.
But like the betrayal of Percy cuts deep.
And also like, okay, I'm going way ahead. I'm so sorry, but you said spoilers. So at the end,
spoilers all the time.
When Fred dies and Percy's just standing right next to him and does not die, like that would have been the perfect kind of like, in my opinion, like, oh, he, comes back on to the good side, but then he dies fighting the good fight and we're like rid of Percy. It would have been great. Why couldn't that have been it? Oh, sorry.
No.
I like how you said I'm skipping ahead and then you skip ahead 2.5 entire books.
Yes, I know. I'm so sorry. I have feelings.
I know. No, I know. Percy is the worst. Fudge starts his little intro. He's like,
let me tell you why you're here.
But then Dumbledore rolls up, which, like, however we're feeling about him right now, thank God he's here.
Dance.
Yeah.
Style.
Mm-hmm. And he brings his own armchair.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. I need to Google chintz.
Yeah, there's a couple
what is that?
terms in here.
I didn't know what they meant.
Oh my God. I Googled chintz armchair and it's like, you mean like in Harry Potter? I fucking hate that shit. Yeah.
Is it not real? Like, did Joanne invent it or is it British?
I think it's real. It looks like it's just an armchair.
What's special about it?
They all seem to be like patterned, very floral and light.
Oh, I
Maybe
see.
something to do with the pattern.
That fits him. Okay, my mother-in-law has a chair like this. I see.
What is chintz? I think it is
the print
fabric. Oh. Chintz. I feel like I'm saying something bad now. I don't know. It sounds weird in my mouth. Chintz. Chintz is glazed cotton.
Glazed cotton?
Polished cotton.
Oh, okay. I think I know what you're talking about.
Like it's more for show than comfort, kind of.
Not even that. Like
no?
it's well, what I'm picturing is I've seen it on chairs, obviously. It's a lot of like chairs at like weddings and events and stuff, if they have a fabric, it'll be like this glazed kind of fabric.
And that probably just makes it more durable.
Yeah, exactly. Like not plastic, but it's got a
Chintz.
film on it. Yeah, exactly.
The easy to clean glazed finish on the fabric was ideal for the hygiene obsessed Victorian era. Okay, it should be noted, just about any big floral pattern is dubbed chintz these days. Technically, if the fabric isn't glazed, it's known as cretonne.
Wow, that's a lot more about fabric that I need to really know.
Yeah, and this is from Vogue.com, and I'll put the link in the show notes for anyone who wants to learn more about chintz.
Yeah, I'm sure there's somebody out there who's very interested in it.
Yeah, you know who loves fabrics? Joanne.
You're right about that.
Clearly.
Oh.
So Fudge starts laying out the charges. He's like, what happened on the night of the night? And Harry's like, well, this is what happened. And Fudge is like, no, how ridiculous.
Yeah, he's asking like very subjective but like yes and no questions to which he won't allow Harry to like give a justification. He's like, did you do this? Yes, but no buts.
No.
You did it, and therefore you're going to jail, or
Yes. So they start talking about the details of the night when Harry got attacked by Dementors and had to cast the Patronus. One magician is very intrigued when they hear that Harry can produce a corporeal Patronus.
Mm-hmm.
We
She's
love
like
real
corporeal
impressed.
Patronus.
She's like,
Yeah, she's like, that's
Yeah. And they're like, you're
That's a +5
15
points.
and you can do that. And he's like, I've been doing that like for
Yeah.
years at this point.
and Fudge is like, besides the point.
Finally, Harry is like, I did this because there were Dementors. And Cornelius Fudge and his shit-eating grin don't believe it.
It's like, likely story.
Right. All his facial expressions in this chapter make me want to slap him so hard.
Yeah. I wonder, is anybody reporting on this hearing?
Oh yeah, we don't see anyone.
Yeah,
doing that.
and like I don't think we
But you
ever
think
hear
they
about
would.
it later. But like if it had gone like Fudge's way, they would have definitely had a story.
Yeah, for sure. Dumbledore produces a witness. Who is the witness?
Mrs. Fig.
Mrs. Arabella Fig.
She doesn't talk like that.
But what the name sounds cute like that.
It
though.
does. I wish she did talk like that.
She has a country British accent. She
She's
comes
great.
to give her testimony. Yeah, I think she's great too.
She has one of my favorite lines in the entire series when she like earlier in this book she corners like Mundungus Fletcher for abandoning his post, and she says something along the lines of like, you worthless pile of bat droppings, which is just calling him a piece of shit, but like in very I don't know, interesting terms.
Very like Britishly polite about calling someone a piece of shit.
Yeah.
What do you call? There's like a term for bat droppings.
I don't
What is
know.
Guano. Is that right?
Yeah.
Really? Whoa.
Good pull.
Yeah, it's also the accumulated excrement of seabirds and bats. Either or. Oh, I don't need pictures. Thanks.
I got it in my mind.
So Mrs. Fig comes in to the chintz armchair, and Dumbledore produces a second chintz armchair.
And she's like in her slippers, like just,
I know, her house shoes.
Harry's like, I love you, but could you?
But
please
that makes
try?
me think that she had to like rush over because they moved up
Yeah, she probably
the hearing.
did. You're right. Yeah.
'Cause-
Dumbledore was late because he had to go fucking grab her.
Yeah, but like Dumbledore can, apparate, but she has to probably take the train or whatever shit, and she's out in the suburbs, so...
I like to think that Dumbledore could apparate her. Otherwise, that's fucking annoying to get into town.
Yeah, maybe he was like, oh, okay, I'm just... But what point did he figure out? Because he says, oh, I just happened to be here 3 hours early because I knew you would pull this shit, so...
Maybe he just really was like, I'm going to get there 5 hours early because, like, I'm not letting them ruin this for us.
Yeah.
So when Mrs. Fig rolls up, Fudge is like, wow, lame witness, bro. And then he starts grilling her about like what happened, why would Dementors even be there? Did you ever think of that?
It's like, I think it's like, it's so insulting because before he even says that, he's like, can squibs even see Dementors? Like,
Yeah. Okay, so question. To this day, I'm not actually clear whether she saw them or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's ever clear.
you mean just like how like it's really vague at first, like her description?
Yeah, like
she gives?
I can tell that she felt them because she's got that right. And like we know Dudley felt that kind of similar thing. But her like physical description of them, you know, even Harry's like, that sounds like she's seen a picture of them.
Yeah. And like, even if she was watching the scene play out in the alleyway with Dudley and Harry, even if she couldn't see the Dementors, she could still pick up what was happening.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but
so
I'm just like curious.
Yeah, but you're right. It's like, why is that even relevant? Why is that the issue? Like Muggles can't see Dementors. Okay,
but they can feel them.
Yeah, the visual aspect of the Dementor is not even close to the scariest or most visceral part. You know,
it's literally just a tool for the books to be able to get Dudley to not believe Harry that it was like a monster instead of Harry cursing him. You know,
I guess
frustrating.
So Dumbledore is like, well, maybe the Dementors were ordered there by Voldemort. And then Fudge is like, nah, bro, we control the Dementors. So then Dumbledore's like, okay, cool. Why did the Ministry order Dementors to go attack Harry Potter?
And this is when we get Umbridge kind of leaning
Dolores
forward
fucking Umbridge
out of the shadows like the villain she is. Oh. Just like hearing you imitate that laughter makes my skin crawl.
It's so annoying because like I am the kind of person where if someone is like like if someone's just like kind of poorly clearing their throat near me a little bit all the time instead of just getting a good like clear your fucking throat. Dolores, do you need a cough drop?
Pardon me, but are you assuming that someone in the Ministry arrived to work unwell?
Doing that cough without needing to cough like hurt my throat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of like makes me feel like a little Fleming.
But the way she phrases her like questions, it's so passive aggressive. I can't deal with this shit.
She could teach a master class in passive aggression.
I hate I'm just aggressive. There's no passive about me. And it just, I can't deal with it. No.
There's no room for passive aggression in a courtroom.
No.
Be direct.
Amelia Bones, where are you? Control your girl.
Yeah. She's like, I'm trying to control my monocle.
She does have a monocle.
What is Amelia Bones' title? I know they say it, but I've totally forgotten.
Madame...
No, it's...
Because, like, Umbridge is, like, the undersecretary to the minister or something.
I think she's just, like, a judge.
No, it says, where's the announcements?
Head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement.
Okay,
great. Okay.
Amelia Susan Bones.
Name.
Did you notice that her middle name's Susan?
I didn't notice.
Susie Bones.
Susie Bones.
I'm Susie Bones. Once upon a time, my entire family was murdered, except for my aunt.
Umbridge is like, are you implying? I can't do, like, the voice. Are you implying that the Ministry...
I kind of wish she was. I'm glad she's not actually. I take it back. But I'm like, part of me almost wishes she was like a femme fatale. Like, are you implying that? I don't know. I take it back. I don't want that.
Like, what's her face from Powerpuff Girls, but playing Madam or Professor Umbridge? What's her name? What's her name from Powerpuff Girls?
Speaking of, I tried to play Powerpuff Girls in the lobby at the one of the pediatric offices I work at. Yeah, that particular character makes it difficult to show in a pediatric setting.
Yeah.
And I always forget that character's name is Sarah. Sarah Bellum.
That is so, like, just tame.
cerebellum, though. It's like so stupid. But then you can't even ever see her head because she's just tits and a pair of legs.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Dumbledore is like, this is all very confusing. So I'm sure the Ministry will be making an inquiry about this.
He's like, that's not none of your business, but the Ministry does or doesn't do.
I
That's a
love
very
your
good
fudge.
impression. Hey, I do what I want. He is very whiny in this chapter.
Yeah, you know when you've gotten to like the level where you're whining that you've lost that argument, or at least you've lost power in that scenario. You gotta stay strong. Like you noticed that that our boy Brian this whole time, I'm Dumbledore.
I was like, who? Brian?
I just think it's funny to call him Brian.
What's it? Albus, Brian, Percival. I'm missing one.
I think Brian's like
Wolfric. Yeah.
I think Brian's like the last
It is.
name,
It's like
Brian Dumbledore.
hilariously. Yeah. Yeah. It's like they're like Kevin Dumbledore. Like but you notice that the whole time, like he never loses his cool. Like the entire time it's like he said cheerfully.
Yeah.
He said respectfully.
Yeah, that's
Like-
very Dumbledore.
Yeah. I mean, like if I was in there, I would get emotional. I would be
yeah.
like, first of all, you are full of fucking shit.
Yeah.
And this is not appropriate. And he was like, what do you mean? Why are we even here? He used the he just told you he used the magic to defend his cousin from getting killed by a Dementor. Like, but instead he's like, of course, you're going to look into why the Dementors were dispatched to begin with.
Right.
Cheerfully.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He is like an example. It's like, this is how you argue without making an ass of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be cool if he like smiled or like winked at Harry even.
Yes,
Maybe.
but he's doing that, giving Harry the whole cold shoulder bit. I think if he hadn't been doing that, he would have totally done the winking at him.
Do you think that it's like he's doing this cold shoulder bit right now in court because if he had been warm towards Harry, it would show like they would all think that it's like this weird favoritism that everybody already knows that he has.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but also like what he ends up explaining isn't it that he was worried that Voldemort would like see through Harry into Dumbledore's plans or whatever?
That is the explanation in the book, but I hate that explanation because I think it's stupid.
Yeah, it is kind of like, oh, I needed it to be the thing, so here's a convenient plot reason for it.
In this specific scene, I think that it is actually like acceptable just because I think that given Fudge's point of view, like I think that if he had like,
he'd
treated
be
him
like, I
super
saw you
warmly,
wink at him. I know you're playing
like,
sides.
you're in on
Yeah.
something. You're
Right,
collaborating
but
an
he's
army
literally
against me.
defending Harry. Like,
He has a vibrator in his butt. That's how he's getting all the answers.
Why is it a vibrator?
Because somebody got in trouble for like cheating at chess with a vibrator in their butt or something.
What?
Is that right?
what?
Have you guys heard about that?
No.
What the fuck are you talking about?
How would that help them cheat?
Shut up. Chess, vibrator. I'm doing.
Chest, vibrator, butt.
Okay. Okay. Listen. Okay. Well, maybe the New York Post isn't the answer for this. Build your own undetectable chest cheating vibrator. These headlines: chest grandmaster gets butt scanned following anal vibrator cheating rumors.
But does it say how?
Yeah, because well, you know what? There's a lot of settings on vibrators these days. Maybe like level 3 means like move pawn.
Okay, hold on.
So somebody
hold on.
else is like off, on to the side, giving
pushing
them
the button.
clues.
That's what I'm thinking.
guess.
We here at Euro News Culture are still trying to figure out quite how cheating by sex toy works, but we're trying out several vibrating configurations, and we'll get back to you.
They're trying it out. Okay, good.
One of his opponents like quit and then accused him of cheating. What if you were like sitting there and you could like hear
The vibration.
butt vibrator?
And you're just like, what the fuck is that?
Okay, but like chess matches go on for hours. They like this person, like, did they get desensitized to the vibrations? How did they not react to them?
Chess grandmaster denies cheating by using anal beads. I just can't with these headlines.
Anal beads. See, that's
No,
different.
it's beads.
That's even-
vibrating beads.
I can't
Okay.
keep up with these kids.
You read that right. When does the sex toy come into play? I'm just reading this Euronews culture website.
It was a slow day, a slow news day.
I just can't really. I'll let you all do your own reading. I'll put this in.
It's
In the show notes.
Yeah.
I'll put this in the show notes. Because I guess we've probably spent enough time on it, but
Yeah.
it's fascinating.
I just have to say, if somebody's actually doing this, honestly, hats off to their creativity. That's thinking outside the box.
It's thinking inside the butt.
I think, I think that like some of the words that Joanne uses in here, I feel like I blame a lot of that on like why I was such an obnoxious child, because I read all books, but like especially these books like so religiously, and I would say very annoying things like said Fudge with a very supercilious look on his face. I'd be like, Mom, what's supercilious mean? And then she'd tell me, I don't even know now what it means.
No, I don't know.
And
I can guess from context.
but then like in like fourth grade, I'd be like, that's a little supercilious of you, Mrs. Brady.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
she'd be
annoying.
like, you're so fucking annoying. Please stop. Every time my
It
back is
means-
turned, you run to the board and correct my grammar. It's
It
not
means-
nice.
It means coolly and patronizingly haughty.
Okay, well, that's a very good use. What about surreptitiously? That one's in the next chapter.
Surreptitiously?
Is that how you say?
Yeah, it's just secret. It just means secretly. Or like subtly.
Yeah.
Like that's ridiculous. There's no need. It's like said Hermione surreptitiously. Say it again.
You're like discovering one of the beautiful, terrible things about the English language, which is that most words, we have the Germanic word and we have the Latin word, and they mean the same thing, but one just sounds better, fancier because it's Latinate. Supercilious, that's some Latinate shit. But you could just say like haughty, and that's probably a Germanic base. Hold on, I'm gonna go to
Superciliously is like a super silly word. No, like
so silly.
I mean, it's like she said superciliously. That's not. That does not reflect what the true meaning of that word is.
What
Yeah.
if that was like, it sounds like a drag queen name? Supercilious.
Also, but not as good of a drag name as Luscious Malfoy.
So basically, Fudge goes for the throat. He's like, fuck these Dementors. We're here to talk about how Harry is evil. And Dumbledore's like, the Dementors do matter because underage magicians are allowed to defend themselves. And Fudge is like, but Harry's crazy bitch, so fuck this. Fuck all of this.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Dumbledore's like, they are relevant because if there weren't Dementors, then like, yes, then this trial would be relevant. But like, there were Dementors, hence the Patronus, and that's why it's relevant. You fucking idiot.
Yeah. And Fudge tries to bring out like all the like, oh, in the past he dropped a cake and blew up his aunt and all of that stuff.
First of all, I wish they would use different wording. He did not blow up his aunt, okay?
That
He
is
inflated her.
Right. But he
Yeah.
didn't. That implies an explosion to me.
He did not explode her. We would have remembered that.
yeah. And Dumbledore is basically just like, oh, like that time when you totally forgave him because you understand that people have emotions, you heartless bitch.
And Fudge is like, wow, that was then and this is now.
Yeah, there's a lot of ers, a lot of ers, aka us. That both of us thought was Urs. Did you also think it was Urs, Nav, when you were like growing up reading this book?
All his like sputtering.
Like he's saying so like just all of them all the time saying even Harry. So
You're
much.
in
You're
Canada, though. Did you have a better understanding?
Yeah.
I just I understood it as like just like grasping for words kind of thing.
Okay, but like, do people in Canada do they say or do they say
Okay.
I think it's not like.
Yeah, it's more like
yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Like if you're like, I don't know, would you say ERR ... IDK or would you say UHH ... IDK?
I think UH.
Woo, one for Canada.
I don't know. I never like examined stuff this deeply. I'd never understood what people meant by like, oh, Canadian accent until this semester. I have a professor who's from Newfoundland and he has such a like specific Canadian accent that I was like, okay, all right, now I get what people are saying. But like every time he was talking about like cars, but instead of saying car, he would say car, and I'd be like, wait, what? What?
They, like car, like
yes,
with a rolling R.
Whoa,
not
that's
even
intense.
But not even like the R wasn't rolled so much as the A was like weird.
Care.
Yeah, like car.
Ride
like,
the care.
Yeah, basically. And I was like, well, what is this person? I feel like I'm listening to a cartoon. But it's like, that's how he talks.
Damn.
Dumbledore reminds Fudge, hey man, you're not even allowed to expel my students, so don't do that. And then Fudge is like, what? Just because you think that I can't expel your students.
Yeah, Dumbledore's like, this Fudge is full of bat droppings and I ain't having any of it.
Yeah, this is some nasty fudge.
Disgusting. So finally, the Wizengamot takes a vote and Harry wins and he's cleared of all charges. And then Dumbledore drops the mic and pieces the fuck out without even
doesn't
looking
even
at Harry.
glance at Harry.
He's like, what, bitch? And then turns on his heel.
Yeah, I could like feel Harry's heart breaking in that moment.
I know.
It was so sad.
Just look at him.
Yeah. Or just like, give him a knowing glance even. Just a little one of these.
I wish there was a way for the audio to convey your look.
Do y'all have anything else you'd like to add about this chapter? That's the end of it.
So this was like our introduction to Umbridge. What was your reaction to Umbridge when you first read this chapter, like way back when?
I think even then I knew like this bitch is dangerous because of how she, even like how more cunning she was than Fudge, like immediately. And the fact that she's like his senior undersecretary assistant. She's like his right hand wingman. So wingwoman. So I just like was like, oh shit, like they got out of this, but like you notice like when she starts to question Fig, like Fig gets really flushed and kind of like because she's really anxious, it sort of seems like she's lying. And I feel like you immediately know that this bitch has the ability to kind of massage things to go her way.
Yeah.
So when I first read her, I was, how old was I what year did this book come out?
Oh, I forgot.
2003, 2, 3, something like that. I don't know.
Terrible. It was 2003, so I was 12. When I was a kid, especially a teenager, I was raised like really privileged, which like, wah, that's so sad for me. But like, I was surrounded by a lot of fake ass bitches who were like in charge of me. Like,
yeah,
we lived in like a rich neighborhood. All my parents' friends were so fake and like so like. I remember I had a boyfriend one time and his mom would always turn to me scandalized and say, "Are you being facetious?" And I'm like, I'm 15. I don't know what facetious means. And that's what this woman, like Umbridge, reminds me of that woman. Like,
Yeah.
She reminds me of every adult who has ever not had your best interests at heart.
Yeah. There's a lot of Umbridges in the world, unfortunately. Okay, so my first reaction, like, I hated her in this chapter, but I had the most extreme reaction when, like, a couple chapters later, I turned the page and the title was Professor Umbridge, and I was like, no fucking way. I just was not looking forward to that. And you can even see, like, in this chapter when Dumbledore says that the Ministry doesn't have control over Hogwarts, and you're like, oh my gosh, but it's coming. This is maybe what sparked some of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's kind of like well, not yet. Not yet, we don't.
Mm-hmm.
Hate it.
And I might be wrong about this, but I think Joanne, the author, has said something like Umbridge is one of the few characters based on a real person. Am I just making that up? I think
that sounds familiar.
I would believe it. I mean, like, I feel like this is a pretty believable character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Swathed from head to toe in, like, Pepto-Bismol pink. And
which, like, I respect pink, but not like this.
No,
that's what I mean.
It makes me hate the color pink. It's like, okay, sorry to bring it to Game of Thrones, but you know the Boltons?
Yeah.
Yes.
How their house color is pink, but it's like the most
It's the
terrifying thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Like,
Horrible.
you think pink and you're like, oh, it's so happy and nice. But then, like, you come to dread it. Because, like, I think in the Red Wedding, the last thing is, like, a pink cloak swept across Rob or something. I don't know.
I think that's, like, one of the only sigils, besides the obvious, that I remember from that show, that book, is the flayed man. Because I'm like, how on earth is that your identity, dude? Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah, what kind of person do you grow up to be? I mean, there's no chance in being, like, a normal, nice person.
It's true.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so, like, the Boltons made me dread pink and Umbridge made me dread pink.
I feel like Umbridge is also, like, she also takes, like, other things I love and makes them sickening. Like kittens. I fucking love kittens. We've fostered 12 kittens at this point.
Is
not
the
at one time.
kittens thing a thing in the books, or is that just a book
Oh my
thing?
god, is it a movie memory?
No, she definitely has the kitten plates in the book.
Yeah.
too.
Okay. All right. I sometimes I
can
get
look it up. I know exactly where it is. I'm gonna do it.
And we're not there yet, but, like, I just...
Yeah. You don't deserve cats, Umbridge.
You don't. You do not deserve cats. Absolutely not. But, I mean, I will say, you know, like, I'm not going to lie. Like, if it's like, is she a dog person or a cat person? It's,
Okay.
yeah, it's going to be a cat person.
On one of the walls was a collection of ornamental plates, each decorated with a large Technicolor kitten wearing a different bow around its neck. These were so foul that Harry stared at them transfixed until Professor Umbridge spoke again.
So foul.
They're so foul.
Oh,
She's just, like, the worst kind of hyper feminine stereotype.
Yeah.
Yes? Like,
yeah.
she's not shrill. She's not...
But she's close.
Nah, she is. She's like a muted shrill. She's not... it's like really... I hope that you're right, Nav, and that this character was, like, modeled after someone in real life, because otherwise I think it's just like, this is the woman that we're really giving, like, this amount of dialogue to.
Yeah.
And this is who she is, you know, just like this horrible, like it's like vomiting up femininity.
It's bad. It's like so it's almost like performative.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
It's like her costume. She's like, I'm incognito if I dress
Mm-hmm.
super femme.
And the movies, like the casting for Umbridge was so well done.
Yeah, what's her name? Imelda Staunton.
Yeah. And I bet she's just like the sweetest lady.
Yeah,
honestly.
like she did such a great job, and they really nailed the Umbridge aesthetic.
Yeah, they absolutely did. All of those like little coats.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know how to describe them.
Little tiny little like Jackie Kennedy jackets.
The dress suits.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, she's fun. In other stuff she's fun. But in this, yeah, she's awful.
It is nice to see a little color at Hogwarts. That's one thing
It's
I
true.
can say.
You're right about that.
Yeah.
We should watch, Leela. I've never seen this before, but apparently there's a 1996 film of Twelfth Night.
Oh, I've seen it. It's really good.
Yeah. Apparently it has Helena Bonham Carter and Imelda, and I would like to see it.
It's great. I feel like I remember 12th Night is horny. So
it is extremely horny. It's the most bisexual Shakespeare play.
Yeah, which is saying something because, you know, there's a lot of that shit up in Shakespeare.
I love it. I love it so much. Okay, cool. We're talking about Shakespeare now, which means it's probably time to move on to plugs. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
Nav, where can people find you on the internet?
Okay, so you can listen to my podcast. It's called A Song of Ice and Fire Symposium. It's a little wordy. Our Instagram is at Pop Culture Symposium. We hang out and talk about A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, all that stuff. My best friend and my co-host doesn't know anything. She hasn't read the series or hasn't seen the show either. So she's going in all fresh-eyed, and we're just, draining the hope and goodness out of her slowly.
Just ruining her life.
When we read The Sword with Taylor recently, Harmouth was like, oh my God, this has hope. I can't deal with it. It's too much. So yeah, that's the kind of show we run.
And what have you been watching, reading, playing, listening to lately that you think the listeners of our podcast would enjoy?
To anybody who listens to my podcast, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but you got to understand, I have an obsessive personality in that I find something I like and then I only like that thing for a really long time. And currently, that's the Cradle series by Will White. It's a progressive fantasy kind of thing, and it's really good. And you just got to get through like the first book because it's a book-long prologue, but the books are only like 250 pages. Just read it and listen to the audiobook. It is so well done. I cannot recommend it enough.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much. Leela, where can people find you on the internet?
Hi, guys. I'm Leela. You can find me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at Leels for Reals. And I would love to plug a 2016 movie called The Love Witch. It is fantastic. It's filmed in complete Technicolor, which is really fun. So it has this really like cool, groovy 60s vibe to it, but it was filmed in 2016. It's about a modern day witch who is desperate for love, but all of her attempts to make and spells to make men fall in love with her go very astray, as often happens. It is a beautiful film. It's beautiful, just like the colors and everything to watch. She moves into a beautiful Victorian mansion in California, in a small town that tolerates witchcraft. She's a modern day witch, and there's a Ren fair. There's so many wonderful things involved in this movie. I highly, highly recommend it. It is called The Love Witch, and I believe that you can find it on Hulu or Amazon Prime.
Hell yeah.
I love that.
Thank you so much, Leela. I've been your host, Christina. You know where to find me. This week, I'm going to hit you with two medium spoopy, like not really that spoopy. But I think you should watch The Brothers Grimm 2005 action-adventure movie starring Matt Damon and Heath Ledger as British people. I actually think, if I remember correctly, that the original Brothers Grimm were supposed to be German, but
For sure.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Wait, which one has the better fake British accent?
Definitely Heath Ledger, because he's Australian, so in my stupid brain is like, well, it's not English. It's not American English.
Right.
So, yeah.
Matt Damon did a pretty good accent, though. And then it also stars Lena Headey, which, like, so spicy. She's so sexy. That's Cersei from A Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I was going to say, like baby Lena Headey, right?
Yeah, she's hot.
Sorry, what year did that movie come out?
2005.
Okay.
And I would also like to recommend the book Cultish, The Language of Fanaticism by Amanda Montell. Layla and I both listened to this amazing podcast, Sounds Like a Cult, which basically talks about how the groups that are in our society are cults, and it's basically just that you have to pick healthy cults over dangerous cults. And one of the hosts of that podcast is a sociolinguist who specializes in cults, and this book is about how cults use language to be cults, to cult good.
I love that.
Yeah, it was a great book, and the audiobook was good too. Nav, thank you so much for joining us to talk about Chapter 8.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun. I
can't wait to see you for the next Chapter 8.
Oh, I'm so here. I love talking about this series, and I love talking about it with you folks specifically, and it's just always such a good time. Oh, I can't believe we actually kept our talk down to a reasonable amount of time.
Well, this was a short chapter in which nothing happened, so I felt like we were getting to the end of the chapter, and I looked up and we'd only been recording for 25 minutes, and I was like, oh shit, and I feel like we all just at the same time slowed down.
Yeah.
It's okay. Sometimes it's nice to have a shorter chapter.
For sure, and God knows we're not going to sit here and talk extra about this chapter. I think we've said everything there is to say about it.
Yeah.
So we'll see you back, Nev. Next October.
What is Chapter 8 of Half-Blood Prince?
It's called Snape Victorious, so I don't actually remember.
Probably when he got his position as defense. No, wait. Yeah.
So it comes, Chapter 7 is the Slug Club. Chapter 8 is Snape Victorious. Chapter 9 is the Half-Blood Prince. So yeah, I guess it might be that. Because I think the Slug Club happens on the train. Anyway, and then for Deathly Hallows, we'll see you in August for The Wedding.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one.
Okay.
You can say sayonara to this podcast because I'm done with it after that.
Wow.
But you'll probably have another endeavor after that.
I will for sure, and you'll be included on that. Leela, don't say wow. That's 2024 we're talking about.
I know, but remember how long ago?
How many years have you been doing this?
Only 2.5, and I have 2.5 still to go.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Halfway point.
But yeah, I do have a cool endeavor planned for after the restricted section that I'm not allowed to talk about or start for at least 2 more years. So.
It's okay. We'll just, build up the suspense.
Yeah, I'm keeping it in my back pocket. Don't you worry. And Leela, as always, thank you so much for being my co-pay.
Your copay is always due at the time of service. And Tina, I am just vibrating with happiness to be here.
I thought you were bringing back the chest
butt
vibrators.
Oh, I am. Was that? Yeah, that's what's happening here.
Butt vibrator. And that's the end of the episode. And that's how I end episodes now.
That's great.
That's it, potheads. Thanks for listening to the restricted section. This podcast is produced and hosted by me, Christina Kahn. Our theme music was produced by Ryan Kahn. Our logo was designed by Michael Hardison. Please connect with us on Twitter @RestrictedPod, on Instagram @RestrictedSectionPod, on Facebook @RestrictedSectionPod, or in our Facebook group, The Restricted Section Detention Crew. Join our Patreon to get access to our Discord server, our bonus episodes, and other cool perks. We're also very happy to be a member of Deus Ex Media, where all you fucking nerds can find all kinds of fandom podcasts to suit your fancy.
Coffee, tea, honor, cabbage. Long ago, the 4 elements lived in harmony. Then, shit went totally cray when the Avatar attacked. Only the Cabbage Man, merchant of fine cruciferous vegetables, could stand against his trolling. But when the world needed some dank veg, he vanished. 10 years have passed, and my partner and I have started a new podcast.
My cabbages! An Avatar podcast.
A weekly show about Avatar The Last Airbender. Whether it's Sokka's new line of cologne.
Hey, look at you, sitting there on a seal. Well, now look back at me. I'm on an even bigger seal. Now look away.
D&D related antics.
You have to make an acrobatics check for that, and Aang just unzips his pants and whips out his D20s. He's just like, I got this.
Or randomly breaking into song.
Go bending waterfall.
We'll stumble our way through the greatest show ever made, one episode at a time.
Rotten cabbages? What kind of slum do you think this is?
What do you call Canadian. That sounds like I'm saying a joke, like setting up a joke. But like, no, what do you now call Canadian Thanksgiving? You just call it that?
It's just Thanksgiving. But like when I'm talking to Americans, I specify because they're like Thanksgiving in October.
Dave X Media.